like diversity, inclusion, latest job opportunities, mentoring sessions, and other industry updates. I've put all the links in the chat box, so you are free to go and check out all the platforms and start following. Now, let's move on to today's session. In our technology enabled world, it is essential to understand how emerging technologies are evolving and potentially disrupting talent management for a long term business strategy. Today, we have five experienced leaders to speak about the same topic. So, I want to first welcome all the leaders. Thank you so much for joining us in today's session. So, without further delay, let me hand over today's session to Mr. Vishwa, who is not only an experienced talent acquisition leader, but also the moderator for today's session. Over to you, sir. Before we start the session, let me give you a very quick set of instruction to all the audience present in here that during the session, we all will be on the mute mode, but you have an option to put any, in case you have any question or any feedback or anything that you want to ask, clarify, to put it in the chat box. We'll be taking last 10 minutes to kind of answer the questions that you have asked. So go ahead and start putting your questions around the topic in the chat box. Over to you, to the panel, and Vishwas. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ankita. Thanks again for a great introduction. I think the way you mentioned that you changed the methodology of pandemic to an opportunity, I think that's what is a key to success in this current scenario. I think we all seen how different companies are growing, and all. I think I have a great respect to this company, Shenzhen. So let's start without any ado. Uh, the topic for today is a very interesting topic, and before that, I would kind of introduce the panelists to give you kind of perspective. One of the things that I'm very fortunate about is about the kind of panel that we have today. We have people from semiconductor industry, we have people from technology industry, product industry, engineering industry, and all of that. I could have not asked a better, diversity in the panelists, and obviously, it's a great way of putting it. Thanks, Murli, for putting it together. Right. Now, coming back to the topic, I think it's a very interesting topic. We're talking about technology disruption in talent management. I would want to kind of add an element of enablement and disruption because disruption has a negative connotation to it. So let's understand more of a technology enablement in the talent management space. We have industry stalwarts from semiconductor industry. We have Jackson, comes with around 14 years of experience. Jackson, if you can wave your hand, please. He was one of my ex-colleagues, and we worked in Honeywell. So it's a great pleasure, welcoming you again. He works for Maxwell Semiconductors. Then we have Aparna, comes with around 20 years of experience, stalwart again, but she's coming from HR background. She's heading HR, and this is one of the new age company that she's working for, called APPSIAN. We have Neelam. Neelam is a good friend, and she works for a company called Metricstream. Comes with close to around 18 years of experience. Very talented individual, understands the diversity part of it, and has done a lot of work in that area. Then we have Ramit. Ramit comes with close to around 16 years of experience, and he's currently working with ACCOLITE kind of company. He's working with GENPACT. He's actually very passionate about RPA, AI, cloud, and all of that. And when I had my initial discussions with him, he gave me a perspective that I think he's the right person to be called in for this thing. So that's where we have. We have Atharik, who comes with around 16 years of experience, heads a global talent acquisition for a company called ACCOLITE. I think we all know about what this company is. As I mentioned to you, we have company people from consulting, we have a company people from semiconductor engineering and product IT kind of companies. Right. So coming to the topic team, I think it's pretty interesting topic. As I said, we all know, I think somebody said that future of management lies in the way technology is adopted. And we have seen different forms and shapes in terms of technology, be it AI, be it automation, be it robotics, gamification, and all forms and shapes of it, right? And while there's a lot of say that AI is actually making a lot of us to lose the job, but at the same time, you're also hearing that AI is enabling a lot of more jobs than what it is actually cutting down. So I think we are in an interesting phase. So my attempt to today is to kind of enable or kind of unravel some of those myths that we have, and most importantly, because we're talking to industry leaders, we will understand their perspective of how they are actually delivering this kind of solutions to their solutions and all of that. So I kind of made this into four different methodologies where I would want to talk about talent acquisition, workforce management as stage one. Then we'll slowly move on to talent enablement and then employer branding kind of a thing. Then we'll talk about performance management and all of that. And then we'll talk last about succession planning. In all the four areas, we will see how technology is being adopted and technology is being enabled. Right? So without further delay, and I kind of wanted to give a breather about myself, come across close to around 17 years of experience, worked in investment banking captives and also worked in technology captives, and currently with a company called AXISCADES. We're an engineering product company. I'm a global head of talent acquisition there. So my first question, Ramit, I think we'll start talking about talent acquisition and workforce management. We all heard that AI is future and all of that, and we are also seeing that with AI there is a lot of work happening, and a lot of automation is happening there. So coming to recruitment, do you feel that AI has done some kind of a dent in the whole process, or AI has done some enablement according to you? Your views, please.
Yeah, so Vishwa, I think it's a very interesting thing to start this whole session with. And, while we have been hearing about these buzzwords called AI, ML for a very, very long time, but what, again, this pandemic has, made it so real for all of us. And I think right now, the whole agenda or the objective of all of us is to save everybody's time and ensure that while we don't meet people, we are able to relate to them, understand their capabilities better, understand their aspirations better, and then again use technology to create a better experience. And when I say experience, not just for the recruitment team and the candidate, but also for the business. And I think that's where the AI is coming more and more real into our day-to-day lives. So while we used to do so many interviews and so many rounds of discussions, and then finally somewhere in the final round of interview, we used to realize, oh, this guy is technically so good, this candidate is technically so good, but he may not fit our culture for whatever reasons. Maybe he doesn't have the right attributes or the right values or the right background. Now AI and a lot of new tools are coming up which actually tell you these things in the very first snapshot that you see of a profile of a candidate. So we have got tools in our own system in GenPact, which we use from the very initial stage of creating a JD till the onboarding of a candidate, and even after onboarding of a candidate to assess their well-being and settlement into the system, which let us understand not just their technical abilities, but their psychological abilities, inclinations, personalities. There are tools which even let you know a profile's social media standing, thought process, their political alignments. And I think in the current scenario where you don't get to meet people face to face, these things become more important for all of us. So I think right now, if you see, AI and all these new tools that we're going to talk about today are much more relevant to all of us, and they're able to really create the right value, and experience for all of us, which was not the case, I think, before this COVID era came. But now everything has become much more important and relevant to all of us.
Yeah, I think Ramit, you brought in an important point of data, and it is available, and how you use the data to understand the problem solution. All of that is a great thing. So Neelam, let's talk to you. I think job description is the step one of any discussion or any interview and all of that. And it's very, very important to have a great job description. We are hearing a lot about how AI is disrupting that world or enabling that world in ensuring that there's a lot of gender bias thing is kind of taken care and all of that. So what are your views?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Vishwa, and thank you. So as Ramit mentioned, that there are multiple tools in the market, and when you talk about a few of them like Boost Editor, Textio, or Grammarly Business, there is
Neelam, can't hear you. I think you're gone on mute or something.
Sorry. Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry. I start again. So basically, I think the mute button was on, and yeah. So there, as Ramit mentioned, there are multiple tools in the market available. Textio, for example, Booster Editor, Boost Editor, Grammarly Business. There are various tools which are available in the market. And these tools, like one of the example I'll give you is the Textio tool, which helps the recruiters improve the content of their postings. This product has shown that a small tweaks in the language can make a big difference in the response rates and the quality of applicants. It uses specific natural language, basically processing, and text analytics as a technique. So basically, if you have seen this, a lot of FMCG companies uses these type of platform along with leading IT companies. So these tools, as Ramit mentioned, I go along with him that they are very helpful. And in today's world, it is, I mean, that's what pandemic is just making us move towards these tools.
Yeah. I think you're bang on. Neelam, you mentioned about text analytics. I think it's more of NLP that you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So, Atirik, we'll go to you. And here my question is, we are hearing a lot that there are these intelligent tools powered by AI, which can not only source but also score them and enable you to kind of, give you a ranking so that you can only pick up the best. How far we are come there, Atirik?
Thanks, Vishwa. So, yes, I agree. The talent hunt absolutely is driven by technology and the algorithm, which gives us opportunity to find the faster. We have just gone away from the keyword search, the manual work that the recruiters had to play a very, very important role at the sourcing stage. But with the smart tools that we have available, the job is much faster and much accurate. In my previous organization, when I was going through one of the training program, and I experienced a product called Entello, very smartly designed product which uses predictive analysis, which is absolutely and perfectly clubbed with NLP to talk about how we can predict the joining of the candidate versus Ramit spoke about cultural fitment, right? And it's very important, right? We base the entire cycle of recruitment and realize the guy would not be a fit, yeah? Coming from a product to a services, a large or a mid-sized organization. So I think we didn't have these options available. Today, technology is at our disposal. And if we look at smart product, Entello is just one of the examples. But yes, if we use tools of this quality, which can predict the joining of the candidates, talk about how candidate can really behave in your organization, I think we have a way to go, but also we are no longer dependent on the keyword search, the primitive way of sourcing people. And I think that's the power that we have with us today.
So you are in a way saying that future is somewhere here.
Yeah, at your fingertips. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So Aparna, I think my question to you is, you worked in product tech companies and all of that, and we all know the nightmares of assessment, or especially code assessment and all of that. And I believe that there's a lot of AI playing there or technology playing there. Can you just give me your inputs about how you are enabling this? You're on mute, I think.
Okay, let me start again. We've come a very long way in applying AI in assessments, and the progress will only speed up and become much more refined. AI is part of many of a candidate experience as well as assessments. In fact, for employee psychometric assessments too. This can range from realistic chatbot type conversations with candidates in situational judgment tests and proven algorithm-based decisions made from analyzing candidate responses to test questions. There are quite a lot of coding platforms which will help us in such type of assessments. We have organizations like HackerEarth, HackerRank, DevSkiller, or LeetCode for that matter, which helps in screening, inviting candidates, and conducting assessments. This again is based on supervised or unsupervised machine learning and NLP. A recruiter is hence enabled to view, access, compile the code before even inviting a candidate or an incumbent into the interview process. The proprietary tech assessment platform vets not just the technical talent, also helps in giving certain inputs about the behavior aspects of an individual. We have to thank to a gamified version of psychometric assessments. But that apart, I feel there are key benefits an AI can bring into assessments. In terms of the precision, which will certainly help in analyzing massive amount of data, far more than any human. We can talk about efficiency. AI again enables recruiters and talent team to conduct consistent and objective assessments of job relevant data at much earlier stage. Reducing bias, I'm sure you all agree there are human biases and stereotypes are often to blame on poor selection decisions, but AI's objectivity is to help recruiters eliminate conscious and unconscious bias. Lastly, it also helps in engagement. AI significantly helps in improving candidate experience. It kind of lets recruiters offer immediate support and help. For example, we have to go through interactive chatbots that can answer queries about the selection process or about any specific assessments. So AI is here to optimize and enhance selection as well as experience of candidates and for employees.
Yeah. So the good part about all of you guys is that I think you're giving us some used case, some tools and all of that, and we are not staying just by a typical topic and we are going deeper. I think that's what I'm liking it very well. So Jackson, I think my question to you is, do you think onboarding is one area where I have personally, when whichever company that I worked in, we used to have a day-long kind of sessions and all of that. So do you think in onboarding, does AI has some role to play? And if you think, what is that? Can you just elaborate on that?
Sure. That's a great question, Vishu. Of late, what I've been observing is there are organizations which are using AI to be a part of their onboarding processes as well, right? So indeed, they use something called gamifications. One example of a tool is Attrivity, right? So that's an excellent tool which helps gamifications while the candidate is actually onboarding, right? So it has got an app wherein you connect and it allows all the new hires to play a specific game and helps give them or judge them basis the pointers. All right. With that said, we also know that the primary reason why AI is also coming into effect is because it makes it more engaging and very less stressful to most of the new hires, right? So the new hire who's joining on the first day, all right, let it be a fresher or an experienced person, might not be very comfortable asking any specific questions, right? So that's when your chatbots come into picture, right? So they use chatbots to see if some simple questions like your leave policies, your remote work from home policies can be answered through these chatbots, right? But during my research, what I also found is AI also might have some limitations, right? Every new tool coming in or everything new coming in might have their own limitations, right? But with AI coming in, trying to simplify and make the processes more efficient, right? We HR as a team should not lose sight on the human side of the onboarding. All right, so that's one specific call out I want to do, right? Joining a new company is often a big change in a candidate's life. So if you only make onboarding simpler without making the individual feel truly welcome, all right, we might unintentionally exclude the new employee, right? So we as HR should also find ways to connect with the new hires throughout the onboarding processes and ensure that the new employee is uniquely valued.
So I think that's a good point. So let's slowly slip into talent and employer branding. Today's context, employer branding and talent branding is very, very important. We all know that, right? So Ramit, do you think there are any processes or technologies which can help in recruitment marketing, right? So can you just throw some light on how is this happening? And obviously AI is the bottom of the pyramid or wherever it is, I would want you to understand, I would want you to kind of give me some perspective of how technology is playing a role there.
So just for an example, so I've been with GENPACT for almost 8 years now, and GENPACT typically is known, traditionally as a BPO or a BPM company, right? And about 7, 8 years back, they ventured very heavily into the digital side of technologies. And right now we have got a very good talent layer on AI, ML, data science, big data, cloud. And we have built up that whole layer over the last couple of years. Now, what we found very difficult in the beginning was, how do you make somebody believe that we are a tech-savvy company now? We're not a BPO anymore. So that's where these tools came handy. And as you know, we talked about TechShio. That's where the journey started, where we started creating very compelling, dazzling, tech-savvy JDs to hit the right talent. And again, the LinkedIn very targeted campaigns came very handy. what we did was we revised our entire messaging, starting from LinkedIn in mails, going up to the last email that you send to a candidate on his onboarding day or the day before his onboarding. And that's how this thing, and that's what I think created an impact on the candidates. But when they see a BPO or a BPM company using such tech-savvy tools, and Crystal is another tool that we've been using very nicely. I don't know how many of you have heard about Crystal. Once you get that installed on your LinkedIn, once you go to a LinkedIn profile, it even tells you how to approach that particular candidate and that particular personality, about their background, about their social media inclinations. It even tells you how to write an email, or should you call a person or write an email to that person. So that kind of tech savviness in our entire hiring process. And then a lot of messaging, which was video driven, having those video, JDs on the videos, leadership connects over the videos, and all those things, they really helped us come out well. And we have been hiring the best of talent right now for the biggest product companies in the whole world and across the globe right now.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, and you are kind of somewhere making recruiters to be a true business partners and enabling using technology and ensuring that the right set of people walk into your doors. I think that's a great point that you mentioned. So Athirik, while we are always seeing that hiring top talent is very, very tough, or maybe very challenging statement for all of us, retaining also is an important topic. But let's talk on talent hiring in terms of top talent. I'm also seeing that a lot of true sense kind of a thing when it comes to employee experience or candidate experience, that kind of tools which are enabling top talent to be kind of channelized to your own portals and all of that. Can you walk me through some of those personal examples that you have come across?
Sure. So Vishwa, honestly, talent hunt no longer is a unidirectional concept. It is no longer posting a job and trying to find the right guys. Okay, it is about being at the right place at the right time. I think an employer which is available at the right place and can open the two-way communication with the job aspirant is the one which will really have an edge among the others. Now, I'll try to give an example what it really means to a job aspirant as well as to an employer, right? There was a time where you land on a career website of a company. It's a standalone website. You have to really hard struggle, find the right job for you, upload your CV, then fill in all the details, and eventually post a job, and then it becomes like a black hole, right? Today, if you look at the career website of an organization, it's all AI driven, right? The moment you land, whether it's a Syra or a Myra, right? Somebody would immediately, the chatbot will pick you and say, hey, thanks. So they not only engage with you as long as you're on the website, they also try to give you job recommendation, right? So just look at the transformation, and that has happened too fast. And it's not a 20 years old story we are talking about. A couple of years ago, we used to go on a website, apply for a job. But even today, if you land on a career website, while you are directed to the job that you're searching with the needs of the chatbot, but you're also recommended maybe 2 or 3 more jobs that's very similar, very relevant to the skill set that you have, right? I have experienced some of the platforms which is completely dedicated about employee experience now, right? I was reading one of the global surveys where 67% of the job aspirants said that they would prefer to apply for a job through the career website of an organization. And that's a very powerful data for us to understand what really means and what's the homework that we have to do. Now, 50% of these 67% also called out and stated that we drop somewhere in between because it's too tedious to apply for a job on the career website. So I think it's a very strong indicator for employer to understand, while you can direct the traffic, but if your websites are not AI enabled, if you're not capturing the right data, if you're not enabled with resume parsing where information gets extracted, so today the millennials are looking at drag and drop, right? Just dump your CV and let the job be done by the career website. And I have experienced another platform where people don't want to really restrict their opinion about an employer just by looking at anonymous feedback on a Glassdoor. So there are tech tools available which can be employed on your website, which gives the power to the candidates to live chat with some of the employees who are actually the people ambassadors of the organization. Now imagine reading an anonymous feedback versus you are chatting with somebody who's also an employee. The kind of brand image, the powerful tool that you have to really get the job aspirant to apply with us. So I think we can continue to talk about how technology has really transformed the job specs versus a job recommendation. I think we have a long way to go, but yeah, extremely competent products are available.
Somewhere you're kind of mentioning that if you have to attract a top talent, our systems should be driven faster, smarter, and then it has to also have some bit of user interface kind of thing, which makes them to feel personalized. I think that's a great statement that you made.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Neelam, you spoke about chatbots and all of that in recruiting, but do you think these chatbots can also be used in some bit of work in talent or employer branding? Do you have a use case there, or you have some experience there?
Yes, Vishwa. So basically, as Athrik mentioned, that how chatbots can be utilized in career pages and all that. So basically, chatbots, I feel they are a major source of branding. So because you see, they engage your customers 24/7, convert prospective leads into loyal customers. That's one of the major thing. They are multilingual chatbots, which make sure that no customer is left behind, and they are easy to set up. They are low prices. So basically, you can see there are multiple of them. I can remember Mia, Olivia, JobPal. All these are one of the finest chatbots which are built using NLP and machine learning, and that can strike a conversation with employee and the candidate and performs tasks as they are programmed, and they can enable your hiring funnel beautifully. So as Athrik mentioned, if we have to be enabled and we have to, as millennials, what they require. So we have to be AI driven, and these chatbots are one of the major source of branding, where they help your career side, and they can just drag and drop, and somebody is there to help them 24/7.
Yeah. So I think my next question to Jackson. Jackson, I have seen that there are two types of companies, according to me. One is who are using new generation methodologies and employing some companies to do a lot of these talent and employer branding. But some companies are using LinkedIn effectively and making sure Twitter or maybe Facebook and making sure that the presence of people are much more there. So how do you think using that data and helping you to kind of create your funnel from a talent branding standpoint and making people to think about Maxwell as a company, or that kind of an employer of choice? Can you just take me through your journey there?
Sure. So like Neelam and Athrik were mentioning, right? So one side of it is the AI chatbots. The other side is you use tools which are very specific social media tools, right? Something like LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook or Instagram, all right? There's, of course, no doubt there is an employer branding or talent branding, all right, which is required across all employers, right? So it's become a market where it has become, it's more like the candidates are choosing companies and not the other way around. All right. So I also feel some channels can be different if the intent is towards the talent and employer branding, right? Then I think we are in the right direction. Okay. Just to give you my own experience with Marvel, what happened is we went through a complete rebranding of the organization in May of this year, right? So we had a different logo, we had a different quote last year, but then this year in May we completely went through a rebranding, right? So that, and we used social media channels such as LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, name it all, right, to ensure that our brand reaches millions of people. And we were successful, right? We indeed became or got awarded in the Summit International Awards to be one of the gold winners for complete rebranding and redesign. Okay. Wow. Yeah. I also feel these days, I guess people pretty much spend most of the time on social media, right? So morning I come in, at least for me, I log into LinkedIn rather than just checking my mails. Okay. So any specific articles or any specific details you want to post in social media gets spread out faster than any other media, all right, or any other channels you're looking at. So of course, with saying that, employer branding is definitely a key to any employer. And yeah, social media plays a major role in ensuring that branding or rebranding is done for an organization.
So you're kind of making a point that it is a platform and you can use it, and there are great companies who are already doing that in a way, and then they're getting benefited out of it, right?
That's correct. That's
So
correct.
Aparna, let's talk on diversity, and then I'm sure we're talking beyond gender. Do you think there are companies who are doing a lot of marketing, branding in that areas and all of that? Can you just talk about some of your personal examples there?
Yeah, I think I would want to bring out a point here. This is to be an initiative which has to get blended or integrated with the branding. So ultimate goal of DNI is in creating a better world and improving organization performance. The recent trend is more focused on inclusion and diversity, equity and engagement. No doubt leadership plays a significant role and be aligned to the business objective for DNI to be successful. Also, systematic ways to create awareness of biases, creating growth mindset, while executing it's equally important using a relational model, which has stories about why it's important and why it's critical.
Yeah, yeah.
No doubt there has been so much talk around this topic, and this definitely has been a hot topic for the top management as well as HR heads like us. Fundamentally, I feel there are two problem statements we need to look at it. In the quest for diversity, inclusion somewhere I feel is kind of missing. And hence, in the initial part, I said it's IND than DNI.
Okay, okay.
Corporations
Okay.
have not got beyond gender in terms of diversity, and things like PWD, generation diversity, LGBTQ are far from reality. Having said that, I know as a fraternity, we are pretty conscious on these aspects and always try and create a conducive, enabling environment in order to ensure that there is success to this extent. For example, we have always encouraged good ideas across the organization, views, and have applied them at workplace, which has really helped in terms of inclusion, which is part of the overall initiative. And we're also thinking differently beyond the gender diversity, and a lot of work is happening in enabling other diversity category. And most importantly, we're spending a lot of time in respect to sensitization, awareness, infra ready, as well as such other initiatives. Hopefully, we see a positive twist to the DNI strategy. But I strongly feel ultimately it's a mindset change. And I would certainly like to quote, I'm sure people might have heard about it. Diversity is being invited to the party, and inclusion is being asked to dance.
Oh.
So the invitation is party. It certainly seems to be coming. Whether the dance will happen or not is up to us to ponder. It is, but a journey with the corporates.
Yeah, yeah. I think you brought an interesting point. So let us slip into performance management and talent development. And I'm very, very cautious about the point of developing internal talent, Neelam. So do you think, are there any used case, because we are talking about AI, we are talking about hiring externally and all of that, and these tools can actually enable do ranking and all of that. Do you feel that these methodologies or technologies can also be adopted to identify some internal talent and develop that internal talent? Do you see some use case there?
Yes. So basically, I have been doing this greater research of late and came across this international paper 4B model, which is basically buy, borrow, build, and bridge talent. So here, buy and borrow are more externally focused, and build and bridge is more internally focused. Coming to developing internal talent, it is something that each organization has to prioritize and have an analytical approach of what kind of competencies or are required for future organization, and enabling a learning ecosystem to feed into recruitment system.
Wow.
Here we are talking, I should say, about workforce. We are not talking about workforce management, which is, according to me, is a short-term solution. And you are actually using analytical or predictions model to enable future talent management acquisition. In build model, you basically build a skill which makes a person from Java tech leader to Java architect. Okay? So in bridge model, you basically enable a Java architect, Java tech leader who will go about building career. Say he will learn Python and as a lateral learner. But beauty of this is, I'll say it is basically enabling reductions of attrition by giving opportunity for deserving learners and enabling them to take larger roles in the company. So you are,
Okay.
yeah. So basically, you're upgrading them inside your company. So you're not losing any one of them.
Wow. I like that build, borrow, buy, and bridge model. Yeah, I think it's an important thing that you mentioned. So, Aparna, gamification, right? So, while we spoke about, I think Ramit spoke about, also we had input by Jackson, and I
Yep.
think Neelam also spoke about. But do you think gamification can also enable some of your internal systems to develop talent or uh, enable your learning methodology? So I have always seen that there's learning is always about coaching, mentoring, and all of that learning kind of thing. Do you see that these guys, these technologies can be utilized to kind of enable learning?
Certainly, yes. I think it's a gamut of application of AI in the HR arena. Learning and talent development is definitely not spared in this space. I mean, if given a choice of a classroom training versus an online learning or a gamified learning, which one would somebody choose? Naturally, when we play a game which has got different aspects of goal, methods, process, and most importantly, achieving milestones in a phased manner, and if a similar concept has been adopted to learning, then there is a drift in choosing it over traditional learning.
Yeah.
The question would then be whether gamification has replaced traditional learning. A straight answer would be no, but I strongly feel gamification coupled with traditional concepts and methods applied in much more interesting as a value proposition is something which is certainly required and the need of the time. In fact, in my earlier experience, we've always used gamification for POFO process, which is post offer and specifically targeting the campus hires, wherein from the time that we make an offer till the time they come on board, there is a substantial time of about 5 to 6 months. We have used this technique, the tool, to enable and help candidates even before they turn out to be employees to understand what the organization is all about, organization culture, to connect, as well as bring in the thought process of game combining with the fundamentals which every employee should be equipped with to be part of the organization.
Right. So my next question, Ramit, I think it's very, very interesting logic of every company having diversity as one of the core values or all of that, right? But I'm also seeing that it's just not the poster statement; they're also doing a lot of work, right? And I have always seen the way GenPact has done a lot of work in this area. So maybe I would want to kind of understand your views on that, and a little bit of snippet on how technology has enabled that.
Yeah, so see, GenPact anyway was very famous for focusing very deeply on diversity, and we have got specific leaders running this, and obviously everything starts from the leadership only. And we always had these programs like Career 2.0 or Returning On programs, which were specific drives to give a second career to diversity and other candidates. But I think right now it's again inbuilt into a couple of our tools and. So when we talk about Textio, so Textio is one of those tools which provides very neutralized JDs. For an example, for people who have not really used it so far, we used to hear this term, very strong experience on Java development. So when you put that JD in Textio, it will suggest you to change this word. Because when you say strongest, it itself is a very masculine word. So it anyway goes away from your agenda or focus of being a diversity friendly place. It will suggest you words like in-depth, long-term, specific, something like that, instead of using this very definite, very strong masculine word. So that's where this whole journey starts. But we as a hiring team have a mandate to keep it at least 40%. And we've been able to achieve that so far through various campaigns and these tools which have been programmed to specifically promote the agenda of diversity. But also again, let me also give you another example. What these AI tools will have to be again revised and modified with the times to remain relevant to our focus and vision. For an example, an AI tool which learns on its own journey of hiring that the hiring managers are only picking up candidates who are from a specific background or specific institutes or specific gender, will have their own common sense, which will prevent them to promote the other genders or the people from other levels, So I think we need to keep a very strong eye on these tools as well as keep them relevant and keep working on them. That's whole is the concept of AI. Though it has to earn its own intelligence, it has always remained focused towards our goal of diversity and inclusivity, obviously.
Yes. Thanks. Varun. So I think my question is to you on leadership development, as it is a very key aspect of the entire HR process. So do you see a used case or an example or a process where you have technology enabling that process in terms of enabling the culture of the organization, enabling the culture of the person, enabling the learnability of the person and all of that? Do you see any of those use cases?
So yes, I think Vishwas, post the pandemic, the world is looking for sustainable models, right? So, and that also will have an impact on the way you manage your talent and you develop the talent. Like Neelam said, right? It's very clearly called out in all the global forums or social forums that organizations will hire less, build and borrow more, which clearly calls out what is the intent for the near future. I don't think so there's an organization which will just go and take that risk of hiring too many people. I think the concept will now change, which is more around reskilling your own workforce. We have already seen a very high increase in the internal mobility, which is also an indicator that we will try to rotate our talent internally rather than going and hiring somebody from external market. I think there's a shift in the way we look at talent today. It is no longer the pedigree and the technology they bring in, right? It's more around adaptability, the problem solving techniques that they have. Yeah. And our assessment and also the way we look at progression of the talent has also modified. For example, when we look at internal talent today, and especially after the pandemic, we are trying to cross-skill and upskill almost everybody, right, on technology. Now, we have our own in-house product, which is as good as a HackerRank or a HackerEarth. It gives us the hundreds and thousands of questionnaires and a lot of learning material for people to do self-learning and then take their self-assessment. And there are enough qualified technical panels we have who can also certify them. So I think what we have to understand very clearly that gone are the days where you can hire one exclusive Java, one exclusive another stack of a .NET, and then live on it, right? It's all about reskilling, and the organization which, for example, learning and development has always been a critical part of every organization. But today they will play the most pivotal role along with talent acquisition, because every talent we hire, eventually it will become part of their role to transform that skill from a A to a A plus, from a N-1 to a N+1. So I think that's the way to go, is to reskill people and also rotate a lot of folks internally, hire less, and then borrow and build internally.
Yeah, I think you made an important point, Atrik. I think where you're talking about if you start building your own talent within your organization, obviously your attrition will go down because they feel that, okay, there is an investment happening. And second thing is you also see a lot of lateral moves happening, right? Which is one of the cause of concern, because we sometime of the line, we think we need this kind of people, but your L&D system, if it is churning out that kind of thing, I think companies and individuals will be very, very happy about it. So Jackson, effective feedback, right? So that is one thing that is not happening, right? Most of the people, they don't really get the feedback on what they really need to do and all of that, and then where they should really work on and all of that, right? Do you see a usage of any of these new age technologies which can help them, individuals, to understand where they are and how they should navigate to the next level?
Sure. Yeah, I'll probably start with saying performance feedbacks definitely provide a chance for individuals to determine their respective skills, or what they need to learn newly, or what skills they need to really polish on, right? With the help of advanced analytics and with the help of AI and other related stuff, right, that is possible for an employee to personalize their own learning experience also, all right? With artificial intelligence, it typically helps identify systems which helps employees reinvent themselves. I also know which are the skills which are going to become obsolete or get replaced with better skills. All right.
Hmm.
If you also ask me about timely or effective or constructive performance management, right, I would probably go back to Honeywell days, and which we can add on, right, where we had 365 days performance management system, right? So it was not only open during only the focal time or the appraisal time, it was open throughout, so anyone could go ahead and give the feedback right there at the right minute, right, rather than just waiting for the performance cycle time. All right. And I would also probably add on saying, if there is a team member with all this failing to do what or she is supposed to be doing, all right, taking of course the attitude or behavior points aside for some time, I guess somewhere there can be a manager who fails to communicate the right stuff at the right time.
Yeah, yeah. So, Aparna, my question to you, I think you kind of alluded earlier about the way AI is kind of helping the learning systems. But if you can just build on that to see how you're creating future talent or leaders, if you can just spend some time on.
I think we touched upon this particular point earlier in the conversation. Technology certainly is an enabler, undoubtedly. The same is being spread across in the learning. While I agree the traditional methods may slowly fade, but the essence will certainly be imbibed by using AI and by using the relevant technology. The faster these kind of learning systems are built and they become a channel for learning, they're the ones to certainly get to gain in the race. I've heard and told about one of the organizations which are quite innovative, has an interactive learning system which captures what a learning objective is of the person and what is that they're looking for. It does an initial assessment, aligns online content or curate content in terms of the modules, and have this stage by stage review, which feeds into the learning system. And if you really look about the entire concept, it's such a beautiful way of creating a learning opportunity. Lastly, I feel there's a lot of work happening in digitization of training and need to see how far are we able to adapt to this. Let's also agree that we are in a digital era today, and lack of these digital skills may certainly slow down business and economic recovery thereby.
Yeah, yeah. So, Ramit, taking a cue from what Neelam mentioned about build and bridge model. So let us take this, information to see how career transition happens. Whichever company that I was working, somewhere HR was responsible for employee career transition. Now I know that today employees are actually a little more smarter. They know what they are supposed to do, but even then, employee HR is a facilitator there, right? So do you see in any of these used cases or some examples where people can be transitioned to a vertical or horizontal roles, and can technology play a role there, or any framework that you can talk about?
Yeah, so see, for example, especially when Corona struck all of us, I mean, I think the whole world turned up and upside down, even for the recruitment team. So I think, like every other team, we had offers which could not be maybe onboarded for whatever reasons, and then talent requirement that we had, but we could not fulfill because everybody stopped moving from one place to another. A lot of people who were offered for relocating to a certain location could not relocate because of COVID and Corona. So the only option left was that you go back to the whole focus of, again, building talent internally, creating more career opportunities for the talent which is inside. And we as an organization have a tool, which is again an AI driven tool. For an example, let's say I want to be somebody after, a certain amount of period. I go and create my profile, and then I choose a profile. This is what I want to be, and that system really educates me, inspires me, as well as creates a training plan for me, that if I want to become that person, this is the time it's going to take, and I have to clear these many training modules or sessions. I got to connect with these many leaders and mentors to be that person someday. I think that's where, again, technology plays an important role, because this is a self-driven, self-motivated roadmap, but yet defined and met by a tool or a technology.
Yeah, I think.
And again, I think this is, again, we have seen people really coming out of their comfort zone and becoming really surprisingly very different profiles and personalities, which they themselves may not have been aware. This is the potential that they were holding, for a long time.
Yeah. Thanks. That's an important point that you mentioned. So, Atirik, my question is, we've been seeing assessment centers, development centers, or capability development centers, whichever way the companies are calling it, and they're using a bit of technology and emerging concepts to kind of look at past data and all of that. And I'm sure as a HR person, you would have seen how your own team would have looked at the improvement of them, or maybe taking them to the next level and all of that. Can you give some of your inputs about this?
So Vishwa, I think honestly, assessment center or development center has been in practice for some time, but the process has evolved constantly. When we look at, I mean, today, if you look at past data, like your performance or a KPI, it can act as a passport for you to get an entry to the Access Center, but the overall evaluation process has evolved, and it has evolved greatly, right? So we are no longer looking at what you did in past, but there are a lot of real-time scenarios given during the assessment process, and your response is what is defining whether you're ready for the next role, whether you're absolutely ready to take larger responsibilities. Now, one of the products that I experienced earlier this year, and I would like to talk about, is like a gamified assessment, but completely keeps aside your hard skills, which is not a Java or a .NET or your technical stack, but it actually evaluates your attributes, the attitude, and perfectly done. You know, you play a game, and it really assesses you on change management, assesses you on repeated work. We all know that doesn't matter how glorified our work looks, but end of the day, we end up doing the same task over and over again.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
how it responds to a task which is mundane, a task which is repeated? Do you have options to be creative at work? And all of them can be evaluated if you play a game for, and there are a series of like we have in a Mario kind of a concept, level 1 to a level 8. Every time you change the level, they give you a different kind of questionnaire, and you believe that you're playing the game, and in the background they are creating a perfect portfolio for you. Whether you will respond good to a strict supervision, whether you will be really adaptable when it comes to change management. How would you look at repeated tasks on a daily basis? Will you still carry the energy to do that again and again? So I think it is a paradigm shift from where we were a couple of years ago and the way we are looking at. But yes, we are very open to embrace new technology, which is not hard skills, but also the soft skills of the people when it comes to talent assessment or any kind of assessment center that we are looking at.
Pretty good. I think I like the point that you mentioned about staying internally focused, but at least understanding what's happening outside.
Absolutely.
Right? So, so Jackson, my question is on top talent management. I'm sure not managed well, you know what happens to them, and then it'll be attrition towards demotivation and all of that, right? So, do you see some examples of how technology can be used to kind of understand who is your top talent, also enable them, and also take them, let them take the next level roles?
Sure. So probably I'll take an example of my current company itself, right? So what we did at MARVELL, indeed, we believe in continuous learning and development, right? Like any other organization. So what we did here is we had something called the project success method, where all the employees, engineers mainly, went through a training, right? What is the project success method? The project is divided into multiple charters, and each charter is specified a specific timeline, all right? And the scope of the project is also given to the employees. So the employees who are working on the specific project knows the clear roadmap of the project he or she is working on, right? So that really helps giving or having for them to have a additional vision of what they're going to work and what's going to be the future. All right. We also got done with performance ratings, right? We do not have performance ratings with MARVELL, right? We said we did not really believe in performance ratings, so just got done with that. Okay. Additionally, we are also now investing our time and effort to see which are the other methods to identify top talent, all right, and nurture them to take up larger roles. Okay. In my view, I guess the space might not be explored very well, but yeah, of course, we have the technology playing its own role, and getting the data of individuals is the key, but it also matters as what are we doing with the data.
Very good. Yeah. So Neelam, I think this is my last question to you. While a lot of people are pretty happy working from home, but there is an element of employee engagement. So do you see any use case or thought process that you have? You still have employee working from home, but still engaged and still able to deliver what is required.
Yes. So as Aparna mentioned, this is the era of digitization. So see, even before pandemic outbreak, we had a lot of companies who had adopted this work from home, and who were the companies who are more future focused or technologically advanced and had entrusted greater trust in employees. They were already well organized, and they were still delivering much better results even in work from home. So my input is basically we need to have a clear job description, review mechanism, and reward mechanism.
Oh.
So that's very important. And if you have these three in place, I think you can work from anywhere, as it is the era of digitization.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, I've come across many cloud-based tools who not only capture the work and its completion, but also has some element of testing how engaged are employees. And these AI-based tools also gives engagement scores, which could be used for creating structural interventions and how what they are doing and everything. So,
Okay.
as I said, work from home does not matter now. Anybody is working. Even I'll tell you, in current organization, we are now come to that state. Okay, you want to stay in Bombay, work from there as long as you deliver. That's all.
What is required? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'm done. I'm sure I have learned a few things I will take away from here. Any parting comments that you would want to kind of mention before we take the Q&A? And I'm sure YouTube is also throwing some questions. We have to pick up some from there. But yes, any parting things that you would want to share, talk about, please go ahead. We'll start with Ramit.
Okay. So I think, see, while we have been using technology for speed and I think correct or let's say, a correct stage or correct evaluation, I think it's high time that we start using it more for the experience, for
Wow.
each entity involved. And I think when everybody is hiring the same talent, so everybody's hiring Java full stack in the market, just for a very short example, how would they decide which is the best place for me? And when everybody's throwing a lot of money on it, and actually if you see, it becomes an auction many a times. I think experience is what is the candidates will decide, apart from the stability and other factors which will come handy for all of us.
Good point, Ramit. So Neelam?
I feel talent branding. AI can enable talent branding. I mean, very effectively. So I think it should be used in talent branding.
Okay. Okay, Jackson?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah. So for me, I guess we all know that human intelligence is actually coupled with artificial intelligence, right? And that's
Yeah.
going to be the future. And I think the future is here.
Wow, very good. Aparna?
Yeah, it's more to do about how technology can certainly improve quality of interactions, which also is an enabler in terms of experiences. Today, I think this event has been seamlessly been made possible because I had from wherever location that we are into. So primarily, I feel easy reach to internet and technology has propelled human experiences. It has altered human interactions, arguably in a most critical way. So the alterations in how humans communicate with each other in the modern day, which is largely to do with smart apps through internet, Wi-Fi, has both good and not so good consequences. But I would try and focus more on the optimistic way of looking at it. A wide availability of internet capable smart devices means there is a lot of possibility now to closely be in touch wherever people are on the earth, assuming yes, quote unquote, Wi-Fi availability.
Yeah, yeah.
The advent of VoIP, in fact, almost allows near instant communication via internet, even with cellular services not being available. And we all have been witnessing it. It's easier now for people to stay connected digitally, if not closer. Skype, Facebook, Messenger, multiple things, WhatsApp calls, everything has given people robust capabilities to utilize internet as a platform and technology for global communication. Additionally, social media, allows people, communities from all over the world to connect, meet, learn, bring in a community, sharing knowledge, and then grow together over digital medium. So I'm here to say that technology definitely has transformed. In fact, critical common behaviors associated with learning, connecting, growing. And overall, I can say it's more of a community behavior. It'd be wise for me to probably make a statement. Pen pals have, for instance, have largely been replaced with key pals.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right.
And
So,
yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
yeah, Atirik, from your side?
Sure, Vishwa, and thanks for asking for the concluding line. So my concluding line would be: there is no magic in smart. It's just planning, logic, and technology. So as long as we are there, we are going to be the smart recruiters and smart hiring champions.
Yeah. So you interestingly brought a point of planning, which is very, very essential. You know, technology can help, but you need to know what you're really trying to solve. Right?
Absolutely.
So that's pretty much from my side. I think, as I said, it's a great discussion that I had, and personally had learned a few things and few individuals more than what I was learning about them or hearing about them. So Murli, over to you.
Thank you, Vishwa. I think, before I kind of conclude, there are a few questions, on our YouTube live and other stuff. Maybe I'll try to ask those questions, which I think anybody can pick up. So I think few questions come up is, while everybody is observing that global, large companies are coming to India and setting up things in India, the cultural shift, may happening in India in terms of not too much of a loyal employer and loyal employee coming up. So just, people wanted to have an idea behind it. Is that a cultural shift is going to happen in talent management also? Maybe I think, Aparna, you want to pick up?
Yeah, I feel to a large extent, culture is something need to be in a very simplified manner understood. What is the culture that I'm looking at it, maybe with the kind of environment or a growth path that I had, and what is an expectation from the organization? If that understanding can certainly be blended with a real-time experience of having the right kind of conversation, whether using technology as an enabler or not, I think that is the essence of it, to be able to look at it holistically.
Okay, fantastic. So the next question was, again, it's a commonly asked questions in all the sessions. So when we talk about AI and ML is getting used extensively, are we going to lose jobs, which is talent management teams, right? Maybe Vishwa, you wanted to answer this?
Yeah, I think the same message also had a connotation about if AI has actually made 10 people lose job, it's also creating 20 people more job, right? Very motherhood statement that I could say is that we need to understand all of them who are in management. It could be finance, it could be HR, it could be anyone. All of us need to understand how we use this technology, right? If I don't use this technology, being in HR, somebody who uses this technology will replace me, not the role or AI itself. AI cannot replace, because we all know that AI is also built by some human being only, right? So it is those people who will be replaced who are not using AI or technology as much as those other people who are using it. So my only suggestion is to learn, understand, at least understand how is this disrupting your current situation, and how can you be enabled by learning those 4 or 5 things that you can think of, and be a functional consultant if you can, really see. Because if you can go back and tell your software engineer that this is exactly what I wanted to create, they will be more than happy to create that AI for you. But you are the user for that. So you need to know how it should work. So learn these technologies. I think it's not very tough, but at the same time, you have to invest your time and effort. But yes, you will be taken care if you are upfront and if you are able to understand the market better than others.
Fantastic, fantastic, Vishwa. So another interesting question. I think most of you can relate to this. Maybe Ramit, you can actually answer this. There's somebody's talking about, he's about 8 years of experience in recruiting, but he keep hearing from his seniors that the talent management and recruiting especially changed from the day they started 20 years before, right? They wanted to hear us kind of what kind of changes happened in maybe last 20 years. Maybe Ramit, you can start.
Yeah, so see, guys, I've been a recruiter for last 18 years now, and the only thing that keeps me alive, kicking, and maybe relevant or wanted in the market is because I still like to be hands-on, because unless you keep on evolving with the times, it's like you got to be a mechanic who knows the tricks of how to repair a car, or a machine, and ensure that you create enough people who are maybe better than you and all. So I think as long as we remain relevant, and as Vishwa very correctly said, you will be required as long as you can bring in the right positive impact. And that goes for any profile, any role. I see a lot of people right now losing job because they did not evolve with the time. So they stopped learning what was important, what was relevant to their future and the future of the industry. And I think, again, same goes for recruiters as well. The ones who are struggling are the ones who did not evolve, or maybe who were not really, changing with the times. The other thing that I think is very alarming for India as a geography, as a region, is a lot of people are only running after money. So if you see, that has really given a chance to a lot of new geographies near shore. I see a lot of my clients moving to LATAM regions, Mexico, Guatemala, Mexico, Brazil, which are producing equally good talent or better than India, which is more thinking, more engineering side talent, and much more economical. Now, if we don't evolve with the times technically and only keep running after money, I think that's what is going to be harmful for us as a country, as a nation, and as an industry as well.
Fantastic. Good point.
That's a very good point, actually.
Yeah. So maybe Neelam and Jackson, any of you can pick up. So I think he's kind of an extended same person asking question, saying that the resourcing techniques, is there anything you guys seen obviously changed a lot, right? Any specific things and how it is moved from maybe last 15 years? Is that coming back the same old headhunting thing relevant today or not?
Okay, probably Neil, you want to go first, or I can probably.
Yeah. So, yeah, as Vishwa mentioned that see, techniques are same, all techniques. We are adding on, we are taking help of AI and other technologies, and we are improving. So I personally feel, the base is same, the technique, as Ramit said, we have to be hands-on. So last 18 years, even I've made sure that I'm hands-on, and I am seeing, the technology has changed, but technique has not changed. Okay, so basically, I feel earlier the recruiters were more of hard workers. We don't require hard workers. We require smart workers. So I personally feel we have to just upgrade ourselves.
Yeah. Just to add on, I guess, like Neelam rightly said, right? So techniques remain the same, but then just that we have additional tools, right? So we have tools which can help us with talent mapping, right? We know where the talent is actually existing, right? So back in the days, it was all Naukri, right? How many people actually use Naukri effectively now, right? So I personally do not believe in Naukri. Sorry, but all right, I've moved on from Naukri to saying use other this thing. I've used tools like Rocket Reach, right? I've used tools like LinkedIn InMails and many other tools, right? So the technique of you get your basics right, but the technique remains the same, but the tools have really changed over the years. All right. So hope that answers, Murli.
Yeah, I think I'm sure it answers that person who's asked actually. So it's rightly answered, Jackson and Neelam. So maybe I think you have also one question. He's talking about best use of AI for diversity. How can you use it for growth and diversity? So I think he looks like he asked my question, but yeah.
Yeah, sure, Murli. And just to finish where we left, the last question, that like Jackson said, or Neelam, the industry will always be relevant for people who are upgrading and who are learning. It was same 20 years ago, it is same today, and it will be same. People who have become stagnant are the ones who will be either asked to upgrade absolutely. So even today, people who are learning, maybe they were hardcore sourcers, today they need to learn recruitment marketing, because that's the whole objective, right? There are so many platforms we have, which is around all employee experience, because now it's all about inbound recruitment. Nobody really wants to target hunt and go after people. We want to be at the right place and let people come to us. If EVP quotient is really strong, people will follow you as an employer, and then you need to convert an outbound to an inbound recruitment strategy. So I think it's going to be just a lot of new things that we need to learn. We never had to learn how to post a job. It was very simple, right? Just click on the box. But how you really drive hashtag people and let people follow you on different social forum. I think that's something that's a learning opportunity for everybody in recruitment. So people who are actually transforming are the ones who actually have to be very relevant, and they'll continue to be in demand. Doesn't matter how much we employ AI and machine learning. Coming back to AI in terms of how it can really space diversity and attract, I think diversity again is a very, I would say, a narrowed down and a very, very limited concept that we use in India, right? Diversity is a lot more diversified, if we can say, outside India. So we the moment we say diversity, we say, oh, male gender diversity, and then we restrict ourselves, right? We heard from our colleagues that it's all about PWD, people of different country, different states in India, or people who come from different the forums of life. So I think there's a lot of data available, if I have to summarize, because it's a very, very lengthy subject to conclude in 2 minutes, but we have all the possible data that is available, right? Like Jackson said, how much meaningful concept you can derive. Like Ramit said, what will you do with this data is going to define your organization. You can have tons and big data with you, but if you don't know where you want to go, how the focus of the organization is, one size doesn't fit all, right? So we all understand, right? The strategy Jackson has might be very different from the strategy that I want to adopt for my organization. Same is for Niloy, same is for Ramit. So I think AI can help us the way we want, from sourcing to onboarding experience. Is all about we applying the data in a manner which is in line with the vision of the organization. If I could answer in brief about the question.
No, it's absolutely right, Atrik. Unlike Western style of looking at diversity, I think India is already a diversified, country, right? So if you look at this group of 7 of us, all of us actually come from different parts of India, different cultures of India,
True.
different religions of India, right? So we understand, it's already kind of given. Maybe it's not true in Western yet. So hence they need to actually fill up different aspects of it and talk about diversity. India is already using the diversity a lot. Hence I think we only look at, the areas which is gender at this point of time and run behind that. But I'm sure, I think there are a lot of maturity which is there in Indian, talent management in last 10 years, where I think, looks like slowly moving towards specially able people to LGBT to, getting people from armed forces, and everything is coming together as one piece. I think it's a fantastic, discussion. So
I would want to add one of the inputs to the gentleman who asked about growth and all of that. I've been mentoring a lot of people. I always tell them to actually make a 2x2 matrix. We have people, process, tools, and techniques. You see how people are getting transformed in this particular space, what they are doing differently. You need to understand that and then start slowly emulating that processes, how processes are changing from whatever, 20 years back, how it is changing. Do you know the latest processes, what you need to embark on? Tools, what are the tools which are used earlier and what are the tools today used, right? At least knowing the name of the tool makes a lot of difference than just not knowing about it. And techniques, obviously, we used to have a certain methodology that used to be adopted. What is the new technique that's happening? You also put cost and time into that, where you should be able to do the time. You should be able to do the same task in lesser time as you grow up, at a lesser cost as you grow up. That's the only way you need to look at. Otherwise, you will stay where you are and you will be, complacent in all of that. And all of that happens, what Atrik was just mentioning about it, right? So I think you need to always challenge yourself what you are doing today and how it can be done better. And obviously, all technologies and all of those solutions will come to you, but you need to be open about thinking about it. I think that's my input.
I think it's fantastic, for sure. I think it's so maybe last point, which is, first of all, thank you all that, it's a great session. It's actually kind of very intense session. I think everybody is kind of heavily involved in every topic of it. typically we see, even audiences also kind of, start from a large number to get down to the, thing. I think, the audience also very keen about it. They're kind of asking a lot of questions, right? So, in this COVID times, and I kept on asking this question to every session of mine, do you guys think that still diversity is there in your KRAs with all of you or not yet? I think it's kind of no more an important piece now. Maybe I just wanted to hear from each of you.
It is definitely there, at least for
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
Same here with Marvel. Yeah, but it's in the
definitely,
peak
yeah.
now.
But again, I just want to add a point. It will continue to be there as long as there are people who believe in it and trying to bring in that change, because that change is definitely not a short term. There are different approaches to D&Y. If I have a minute, I just want to add a few more points. One is we can certainly look at these approaches in terms of competence. Now, what does that really translate to? How do we really help improving skills, knowledge, and ability? Bringing in that kind of a dignity, wherein affirming the value and interconnectedness of every person. Then we can also look at diversity in terms of organizational development, which again translates into how could we really help in improving organizational performance. And lastly, it could also be about social justice, treating people equitably and ethically, quote unquote, certainly keeping in mind whatever rules, laws, and regulations that needs to be complied with.
Fantastic points, Aparna. I think, guys, I think it's a great stuff. I think I think this is going to be on our YouTube recordings. Happy to actually kind of give this information back to the people who are not there in the call, but they're going to actually watch over the period of a time. A lot of points come up. Thank you, each of you. Thanks, Ramit. Thanks, Jackson.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aparna, Atrik,
Thank
and
you so much.
Special thanks to Vishwa. I think, I'm going to ask you to do more and more sessions with Sheemjit.
Thank you. It's my
Thanks,
pleasure.
Vishwa and Murli, and thanks everyone for this. Actually, was very enlightening, for all of us. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
so much,
Murli.
guys.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
care.
Aparna.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Amit. Thanks, Jackson. Thanks,
Thanks.
Ramit. Thanks,
Thank you,
Atrik.
Vishwa, for moderating it. Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye.
Neelam.
Thank you.
A special thanks